people see others respecting men as knowledgeable authorities while expecting women scrubbing and sweeping the floors, that's what shapes their stereotypes.
What is the role of language? Portuguese is a gendered language, right? And there's been some activist groups that put pressure on changing the language to something more neutral, or even instead of using masculine plurals, using feminine plurals, and so on. Do we have any kind of evidence on the impact of these changes?
Let's take France. French is a gendered language with masculine and feminine. It's also one of the most gender equal countries in the world. So women earn 44% of the labor share of income. So of all labor income, 44% earned by women. Women also almost half of their parliament. So there's a lot of gender equality in France. So clearly, a gendered language is no barrier to relative gender equality. On top of that, I would say, well, let's think about how people actually form their stereotypes about women. Actually, a lot of the evidence suggests it's by observing their communities around them. So if they see men in positions of leadership, if people see others respecting men as knowledgeable authorities while expecting women scrubbing and sweeping the floors, then that's what shapes their stereotypes. It's by growing up in your little village or your big city, seeing what other people in your community do, seeing who they respect, how they treat others, that's what shapes our views of women. And it's not just about our gender stereotypes, it's also about government policies. So, for example, in many Latin American countries, the school day is very short because they put the kids back to back. Like they have one set coming in the morning and another set coming in the afternoon. So make use of the scarce school buildings. That creates a massive difficulty for parents, which often pushes women into more informal work, right? Because if your kid is only at school from, say, 8 a.m. till 2 p.m., then how on earth can you get a full-time job? So instead, what you have to do is go for a lesser job, which is usually paying less money. And employers will also have these stereotypes. So the employers will likely think, wow, a woman's going to be a bit useless because she might have a kid, and then what's she going to do at 2 p.m? That's a government policy which is actually penalising parents, and let's be honest, that burden usually falls on mothers. So that's a government policy which has a much, much stronger impact on women's capacity to seize economic opportunities and employers' prejudices against mothers. So for me, if we look at the evidence, if we see that gendered language countries like France can have pretty high gender equality, if we think about how people actually form their gender stereotypes, and if we think of the real world constraints to women in the world of work, I would say the government policy that is much more serious would be the two things: the policy on the school day, and also if the police are ineffective in responding to gender-based violence. Those would be far bigger priorities. And 3, the lack of jobs, right? The lack of jobs should be a third major government policy. I'm not telling Brazilian feminists what to do, but for me, based on the evidence I see, I would see the 3 biggest concerns would be the lack of jobs, the police disregarding gender-based violence, and the school day.